I just put a roadmap of a general idea of what I wanted to do. Success doesn't happen fast because in order to become successful, you need to master certain skills. I remember so many days I would wake up and I would have so much anxiety. I'd be thinking, man, where am I gonna find clients? How am I gonna pay the bills? How am I gonna make this thing happen?
All right, guys, my name is Shervin. Welcome to my channel. Today, I'm here with a man who makes $1 million a year passive income, Nima Attar. He has his own financial organization. He has over 500 people working under his guidance. And today we're here to learn how he got to where he is and what we can learn from his experience. Now, you're obviously someone who became very successful at a young age. What do you think it was that set you apart from everyone else?
That's a really good question. I think one of the things that holds a lot of young people back, Shervin, is that they get stuck into this place of, what do I want to do? What am I passionate about? And that in a way distracts them from taking steps forward and growing and developing skills. So one thing that I got really good at was I sat down with myself when I was 19 years old, and I just put a roadmap of a general idea of what I wanted to do. You know, what kind of lifestyle I wanted to have, what kind of people I wanted to associate with as I developed my skills and grew as a person. And that gave me a roadmap that I could take action on and move forward with. You know, I have a video called 5 Steps to Designing Your Life. I think that's a really, really good system on how you can ask yourself some good questions to figure out what you want, because as soon as you have a clear idea, it's a lot easier to move forward and take action. Here's the second thing that I recommend. Get out of your comfort zone. Face your fears. Whatever you are afraid of, that's what you should go towards. You know, I think so many times a lot of people, not just young people, are so afraid of failing, are so afraid of making mistakes, are so afraid of looking bad, quote unquote, that they don't take any chances and don't take any risks. But I was willing to, you know, face my fears, get out of my comfort zone, do the things that other people maybe weren't willing to do or told me that I couldn't do. And that really helped me out. And here's another reason why it helped me out. When the opportunities came, I was ready to seize it. You know, I think a lot of young people kind of wait around and say, you know, once I find my passion, once I get the right opportunity, then I'm going to go really hard. Problem is, when you have that mentality, then when the opportunity comes, you're not ready to perform at your best. But if you're like the athlete who practices every practice as if you're about to play in front of a scout the next game, if you play every game as if there's 5-10 scouts from the biggest clubs in the world watching you, then that one game that the scout actually does come into, you're gonna play at your best because you weren't waiting to get ready. You were always staying ready and staying prepared. And here's the third one, Shervin. I focused on mastering skills and developing my mindset, not necessarily getting results quick and getting rich. You know, I think a lot of the time, especially with young people who are ambitious and driven, which I'm sure a lot of your audience is, they keep looking for the thing that's gonna get them there quick. You know, what's the investment that I can do to get rich quick? You know, what's the business that I can do that'll really make me successful at a fast pace? Truth is, success doesn't happen fast because in order to become successful, you need to master certain skills and master certain crafts. So one of the things I got really good at was being patient and sticking in my lane, you know, and for me, the skills that I wanted to develop were sales skills, communication skills, and leadership skills, because I felt that if I can develop those skills, then I can take that into anything else and become successful for it. Now, for some of the people watching, those might not be the skills that you want to go into. Maybe for you, it's programming. Maybe for you, it's coding. Maybe for you, it's trading stocks, whatever it might be. Whatever it is, master a skill. Don't jump from branch to branch trying to find that quick thing that's going to get you rich.
That's very interesting that you mentioned that, because I feel like I did something similar with this YouTube channel when I first started it. I kind of set a goal for myself. This is what I want to accomplish. I wasn't really sure if I should put myself out there. I mean, a lot of people might watch it. They might say, oh, this is not well done or whatever.
That's awesome, man. And I can tell with what you're doing. I've noticed, you know, even watching some of your old videos, every video gets better. And that happened because you were willing to take that first step and take that action to move forward. So good for you.
Absolutely. Some of those old videos, I watch them now and I'm like, cringe.
But that's almost
how it works.
Every success story.
Exactly.
Right? And that's why you gotta have the courage to move forward when you're not ready. You know, I think
100%.
That's another big one that maybe I should have dived into a little bit more. A lot of people wait till they're ready. You're never ready. You got to start wherever you are and you get better as time goes. And it was the same for you.
100%. What are some of the biggest challenges that you had to face in your journey?
Honestly, I think the biggest challenge that I had, and I think a lot of people who are successful will say the same thing, is myself. You know, my limiting beliefs, my doubts, my fears. I remember when I started in the financial industry, I was 19, 20 years old. The average age of a financial planner, I think still to this day it's the same, but it's 55 years old.
Wow.
So for me being a 19, 20-year-old kid coming into the industry, everyone kind of looked at me like, this guy's crazy. What makes him think that he's gonna get clients or anyone's gonna listen to him? And they weren't necessarily wrong because there wasn't really anyone else that was kind of doing it at such a young age. But for me, like I said before, it was all about facing my fears. It was all about getting out of my comfort zone. And the way I looked at it was, in the worst case scenario, even if I don't become successful doing this, I'll learn finance, I'll learn sales, I'll learn leadership. I'll learn how to discipline myself and manage myself by being my own business. So I thought, worst case scenario, I'm gonna walk away with a lot of lessons. Best case scenario, I prove myself and everyone else wrong and I become successful. So for me, I remember so many days I would wake up and I would have so much anxiety. I'd be thinking, man, where am I gonna find clients? How am I gonna pay the bills? How am I gonna make this thing happen? And I had a rule. I was allowed to be anxious while I was in the shower for that 5 minutes. After I got out of the shower, I had to be excited and get after it. And that actually helped me a lot because as soon as I got out of the shower, I would put on a good audiobook, I would put on a good podcast, I would start infusing myself with positivity because there was so much negativity inside. And that helped me go day by day. And every day that went by, I started to get a little bit more confident. I started to believe a little bit more that I could do it. And that helped me kind of move forward until I started to get the success that I have and progress the way I've done.
Okay, so you mentioned that you had the anxiety and then you were building your confidence, but I'm just curious, were you confident that you were always gonna make it? Or was there still a little bit of a self-doubt?
You know, the confidence I have now is very different from the confidence I had back then. I think a lot of my confidence back then was a little bit more of a ego confidence that came from me having a lot of insecurities. But I did have this belief deep down that I was destined for greatness, you know. And I remember I used to tell myself, you know, I used to say this to myself. I'm like, I'm Steve Jobs in the garage, you know. That's because you know I wasn't driving a nice car, I didn't have a nice office, and I kind of kept going back to, you know, how Steve Jobs started Apple in the garage, right? And that kind of pumped me up and he hyped me up and he made me believe that, you know, I'm on the run. And it was true, because everyone that starts success, no one starts being successful by being successful. The journey of success starts from wherever you are. And for most of us that started, we weren't really much. We didn't have much credibility. We didn't have much money. So for me, I would always remind myself that, hey, I'm starting this like Steve Jobs started Apple in a garage. And that kind of gave me a lot of confidence. But I think that's what it was. I think deep down, I did believe that I could make it. But I always had that doubt of what if I don't? You know, you always have that what if question that comes up. And I'm sure you experienced it when you were building YouTube.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Right? I'm sure you had a certain level of confidence that like, you know what, I could make it, which helped you take that first step. But I'm sure in the journey, you know, you doubted yourself. Am I gonna get subscribers? Are people gonna like it? So
100%.
I think, you know, that was the same for me. But like I said, by taking it one step at a time, and I think that's the biggest thing that I wanna get across. Take it one step at a time. So many times we think about how are we gonna get our 100,000th subscriber? How are we gonna get our 1,000,000th subscriber? How are we gonna, and we think so far ahead that it ends up creating even more doubt and anxiety now. But if you just think about what's your next step, making that next YouTube video, making that next piece of content, and I think if you take it that step by step, it allows you to kind of build your confidence naturally.
Would you agree that everyone watching this video should smash the like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and also subscribe if they haven't?
Guaranteed. I love your channel and I think more people should be exposed to it and get this information, so 100%.
Awesome. Something that's a very hot topic right now is work-life balance. Whether you believe in the work-life balance the way it is with a 9 to 5, or you know the way a lot of entrepreneurial people are, they're basically working all day, every day. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
That's a really good question. And I know a lot of people, you know, discuss this, you know, what's the best way to go? Here's the way I say it. You have different seasons in your life and different stages, right? I think if you truly want to become successful, right? When I say successful, I know there is different ways to measure success. For me, success is someone who is chasing a worthy goal and giving it everything they got in pursuit of that goal. But let's talk about it, let's say financially. If you want to become a millionaire or you want to have a lot of money, well, you obviously have to do things that other people are not willing to do. And most people are not willing to work more than 8 hours. So if you're someone who is able to work 10, 12, 14 hours, 100% that's going to set you apart. And if you are going to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to have a season of your life where you're working 12, 14, maybe 16 hours a day and really getting after it until your business gets to a point that it can either run on its own or you can delegate tasks by hiring people or whatever it is. So for me, I'll say it this way. I think it's a mistake to go 7 days a week, 14 hours a day with no break or rest. You know, I think that's a mistake that I made my first 2 years. In my first 2 years in business, I was working 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, no parties, no friends. And here's what happened. I burnt out. Just like how an athlete would get injured if they work out too hard or if they never take any break, that happens to business people and to people who are chasing success as well. If you don't give yourself time to rest, if you don't give yourself time to recuperate, one, you're not going to be able to play at 100%. Two, you're not going to really give into that creativity of yours that you need to have. And three, you're going to get burnt out and you're not going to have that longevity that you need for a marathon. And success is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And I think that's a huge thing for everyone to learn. But the truth is, for me, here's what my schedule was, and even to this day, I still operate at that level. I believe you should go 6 days hard, take the Sunday off and relax, and maybe once a month once every 2 months, take a 3, 4, 5 day vacation and truly recuperate. And I think if you do work 6 days really, really hard, that 7th day, that Sunday that you take off, for example, you're gonna really enjoy that day off because you've earned it. When you take that 3, 4, 5 day vacation, you're gonna really enjoy it because you've earned it. Whereas I feel like a lot of people, when they do that 9 to 5, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday kind of, you know what happens? I think in the back of their mind, they're so stressed about their financial circumstance. They're so stressed about the things that they're not accomplishing and that they're missing out. They don't really enjoy that time off anyways. And what do most people do when they come home after a 5 p.m., deadline for their job? It's not like they're always, hanging out with their friends and connecting and building relationships. Usually they come home, get in front of Netflix.
Yeah.
So to me, I believe there's a season for your life. And when you're in a season of life where you're grinding, getting after it, I think you should forget about work-life balance. 6 days hard, give yourself that 7th day so you can recuperate. Once you're at a stage where you're happy with what you've accomplished, or you feel like, I'm at a place where I can take a little bit of a step back because my business is running on its own and I can hire people, then I think you can maybe have a little bit more of a balance then. When we're young, when we're in our 20s, we don't have a wife and kids who are waiting for us to come home and spend time with them. So this is the time I felt that I need to grind, that I need to hustle, that I need to work my butt off. So when I do form a family, when I do have kids, that I can truly dedicate some time to them and devote some real attention to them without financial stress, without stress about, my goals and my accomplishments, because I know that's something that I've taken care of to a certain level where I can really enjoy my time with my kids and my family. So I think that's the advice that I would give, especially to young people that are watching this. In your 20s, before you have those responsibilities, before you have that family, grind, work hard, so when you do have them, you can really be your best self for them.
And also you mentioned something about burnout, and I'm curious, what did that look like for you when you were working 7 days a week?
That's a really good question. I mean, look, for me, I didn't really have too much guidance or mentorship in the beginning of my journey. Later on, I got the right mentors, and that's what actually helped me really grow fast and succeed. But I used to kind of have an employee mindset while being a business owner.
Yeah.
You know how with employees, the more hours you give to your job, the more money you take from it, right? If you work, for example, overtime, you get paid more. If you put in extra hours, they pay you more. So sometimes we take that employee mindset and try to bring it into entrepreneurship, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because in business, you're not actually trading time for money. You're trading results for money.
I see.
But in my head, I thought, well, the more time I put into my business, the faster I'm gonna succeed. But that's not the case, because by working 7 days a week, it kind of killed my creativity because I was so exhausted. And I had this thought, after I looked back on those 2 years that I was really doing that, I looked at it, I'm like, you know what, what's better? For me to be at 100% 6 days a week, or for me to be at 70% 7 days a week? And I think the answer is obvious, 100% 6 days a week. But you can only be 100% 6 days a week if you give yourself that 1 day of rest and relaxation where you can kind of recuperate and get your mind back in the game.
One last thing before I let you go. If there's one thing people should take away from this video, what would that be?
Get a general idea of what you want to do with your life and what you want it to look like. Because once you have that general idea, it's easier to take those steps forward. Don't wait till you're ready. I always use this analogy. If you were waiting for all the lights to become green before you started your car and traveled, you would never start, because the lights are never all going to be green at the same time. And I can tell you this from my experience, and I'm sure all successful people will say the same thing. When we started our journey, we weren't ready. We weren't that good. We weren't that sure. We didn't know exactly what to do. But by starting, we gave ourselves a chance to learn and grow. So start when you're not ready, and you'll become ready in the process. I love that there's this picture that I saw, or it was a video, I'm not sure, where it's like entrepreneurship is about jumping off the cliff and building the plane as you're falling. And that's so true. It's about jumping off that cliff and building the plane while you're falling. And when you're falling, you have no choice but to build the plane. So it makes it more likely you're actually gonna build it. Face your fears, get out of your comfort zone. Even if you're not sure what you wanna do, find ways to get out of your comfort zone, find ways to develop new skills so you can start the process of personal development and personal growth, so you're not sitting there waiting for some sort of opportunity or for some sort of green light.
That's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you got value from this video, we also made a second video on Nima's channel. I highly recommend you guys go and check that one out. We go into a lot of interesting topics. I will leave a link to it in the description down below. Also, do me a favor, while you're over there, subscribe to Nima's channel as well. He's putting out a lot of great content out there recently. I really think you guys are gonna enjoy it, so definitely do that. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers.